Is Morty going to die in the season finale of Rick and Morty? Since we're in tinfoil hat territory here, we're gonna hit you with a light spoiler warning. Is that me going slap? That's spoilers. That'd be cool. If indeed we are in the darkest of all Rick and Morty seasons, as the showrunners have said, you wouldn't know that from the finale's teaser. In the promo for the final episode of Season 3, the Rickchurian Mortydate, R&M have been called into the White House by the president to snuff out an alien infestation. But as we saw a few episodes back with the Ricklantis mix-up, the show has used teasers to misdirect us. So do we trust them with this one? Now, this has been called the darkest season of the show by the creators, fans, and even by the characters themselves. And just like the Ricklantis mix-up teaser, this one seems a bit too neat and tidy. They practically answer the mystery of this episode in the teaser. They find and shoot the rat-like alien in the Kennedy sex tunnels. Now, even the title of this episode refers to a classic book that was all about misdirects. The original 1959 novel, The Manchurian Candidate, which has been adapted into 2 well-known films, was about a platoon of soldiers who were all brainwashed in order to support a massive overthrow of the government using a sleeper agent. So is the finale going to be much darker than a simple Men in Black style homage to alien exterminators? Probably, and we think it'll end with our Morty gone, if not dead. Now, we know from the Ricklantis mix-up that evil Morty is out to rule the multiverse, and he's clearly made big headway by conquering the Citadel and all other Ricks. And if our previous theory on evil Morty's identity is true, then evil Morty is the original C-137 Morty, and he knows that our Rick is the only person in all of the universes that he can't control. That would make it important for him to find a way to kill or control C-137 Rick, aka the Rickest Rick, so that he can continue his plans of trans-universe mortatorship with no one in his way. Now, to pull this off, evil Morty will either capture and brainwash our current Rick's Morty or kill and replace him entirely. Killing our Morty would also make good on the promise of this being the darkest season, and it would ratchet up the stakes for Rick. Plus, we've seen quite a few times this season that replacing Mortys is no big deal in the Citadel, and that our current Rick is completely knowledgeable of this practice. There's even that quick shot of Rick choosing which Morty to get in a store full of packaged Mortys in this season's opening credits. Now, we have some other possible players who could get mixed up in our Mortyspiracy. Assuming Beth took the clone option, she could be out there exploring and bump into evil Morty, becoming a thorn in evil Morty's side. And as for our current Morty, he does seem much more fed up with this Rick. Between the Vindicators episode and Morty's Mind Blowers, we're seeing a Morty who has been straight up challenging Rick's authority a lot. He was the one who pretty effortlessly led Rick and the Vindicators through Drunken Rick's Saw ripoff of deadly puzzles and booby traps. So maybe our Morty could become a willing participant in evil Morty's plan to put Rick in his place. But what do you think? Is Morty the actual Manchurian Candidate for evil Morty? Is Rick or Morty going down this season? Let's discuss. Be sure to like and subscribe for more Nerdist news. And it's Thursday, which means, duh, Mothership Day! Mothership is Nerdist's live weekly team-up with Geek and Sundry to bring the very best and strangest of the internet to your digital doorstep. You can watch live every Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific on Nerdist YouTube, Geek and Sundry's Twitch, and ProjectAlpha.com.